Welcome to Speaking Prowess. Are you ready to supercharge your communication skills and achieve unstoppable success? You're in the right place. Join Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, as he transforms leaders into powerful communicators. Joining Sifu is co-host Brigitta Hoeferle, a dynamic businesswoman, global speaker, and NLP master trainer, and the Skilled Center of NLP team. They will deliver unmatched expertise and energy to every episode. Prepare to unlock your full potential and make every conversation count. This is Speaking Prowess, where your journey to communication mastery begins.
Brigitta, happy Friday. How are you today?
Happy Friday, Rafael. It is an incredible day because I get to be here with all of you. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. We have two incredible human beings. Let's go ahead and bring them on. We got Andrew and Dr. Brian. Gentlemen, happy Friday to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And it's happy Saturday in Australia already.
That's right. You're in Australia, so you're ahead of us. What are the lucky numbers?
I'll get back to you.
Okay. So today we're talking about the power of resilience and performance at or on any stage. Who would like to tackle that on? And you can break it down if you like.
Let me say that my experience is that from an audience's point of view, they want us to be using everyday language. They want us to be ourselves. And what too many people do is they figure that when they get on stage, they've got to change personalities or use different words. And then they start saying silly stuff like, it gives me great pleasure to be here today, and all of this lines that everyone else has used. And people want to be surprised and they want to see somebody who's different. They want original thoughts and they want something that's authentic.
Beautiful. I love that. And so you don't want to copy other speakers, you're saying?
I want to surprise people with something that's real, and we don't need different language. We've been using our own language for maybe 30 or 40 years. We don't need to find different or impressive words. And if we think of the speeches that people remember, they can be understood by a 12-year-old. I have a dream, or we'll fight them on the beaches, or even to be or not to be. 6 words and 5 of them are 2 letters.
Keep it simple too, right? So it's rememberable.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I am a fond reader of your book that you do have up. And I love the fact of bouncing back, and you use simple analogies to remember, but also it's how we bounce back from anything that's happened in our lives and the attitude we take into that. And when you talked about being authentic or being unique or just being you, that helps you bounce back more than being someone else when you get on a stage or when you talk to different people, because now you got to keep all that in your head. Who am I? Comes the question.
Yeah.
Dr. Brian, what are your thoughts on what we're speaking so far?
I got several thoughts. One is, I think that's a great book, and I like the title of it. I'm looking forward to checking that out. I didn't know that one existed. It's good that I get a chance to meet people on these shows and see the stuff that they're putting out. One of the things that I taught when I was working with the Army, I worked for the Army for, I don't know, a little over a decade. And most of that was in their resilience program. And the thing that drew me to that program was the fact that the emphasis wasn't so much on the bouncing back as it was the growth. It was the program was really based in the post-traumatic growth literature. So the idea is when stuff happens, when things go wrong, we want to bounce back, but that's not where we want to stop. We also want to progress forward. We want to learn from and be better as a result of experiencing those challenges that we experience. And I think speaking is a great place for that, because I don't know. I mean, I've never given a perfect speech. I've never taught a perfect class. I've never done a perfect anything. There's always room for improvement each time. And I think that attitude of going in and knowing that whatever happens, whether it's what I want to happen, whether it's what I don't want to happen, I can come out of that experience better than I went into it. To me, that mindset takes a lot of pressure off. It takes a lot of stress off. It really allows us to just go in and be authentic the way you all were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Brigitta, what are your thoughts on everything so far? Brigitta is such a body language individual. I love what you do because you're teaching without words.
It's called expert modeling.
Oh, I know you. I know who you are. I'm so fascinated when we do something together because you, like I said, you teach without speaking, but the actions that you take, that's also a performance, right? Because that's how you show up, who you are, how you show up. I think it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being you.
And thank you for acknowledging, and thank you for inviting me to this, I think, really important conversation. Resilience, performance, on or off stage. It's not just the words that we say. And I agree with Dr. Brian. I have never done anything perfect because, I mean, who says it's going to be perfect? You, me, by whose standards? Says who? So yeah, letting go of that perfect is so liberating. What I really, really tap into is that growth mindset. And that, I don't know if you've ever been on stage and you've ever done any performance of any kind. If you're a great trainer, if you're a great speaker, there's going to be feedback, and there's probably going to be, either like, "Oh man, this was like 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 10. I don't even know how that works. But I don't want to see a feedback. I don't want to hear a feedback 10 out of 10, because that means that I have arrived. And I don't think none of us have ever arrived. I don't want to arrive. I want to constantly, like Dr. Brian said, grow and unlearn things. And I think that goes into the resilience piece. Unlearn the things that are no longer serving me, serving my clients, serving my, followers. And I think that plays a lot into resilience, that unlearning. It also is based on a mental flexibility. So yeah, I love the authenticity and originality and relatability and being memorable. Yes, I'm here for all of it.
You know what I really love about what you just said is the feedback. I think that's an important thing for people to remember, because I look at it as two different things. There's feedback from the people that we talk to, and then there's feedback related to my performance itself, like my delivery, the things that I can improve upon. And I split it up into two different groups because there are two different intents. For me, if I'm going to listen to feedback on my performance, the things that I did, things that somebody can tell me that I should keep or that I should change, I have to trust that person. to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not going to take just Joe Schmo's opinion of did you like it? Did you not? Should I do this? Should I do that? I don't really care what somebody off the street says. I want to know that this person knows what they're talking about if they're going to give me feedback about my job, my performance. But I also want to get feedback from the audience, and I'm okay with 10 out of 10, because what that tells me is that I got my message across. Was it perfect? Did I do it exactly the way that I could? Could it have been done better? I don't know. But that person's walking away with something useful. And that's interesting information too. That tells me something. So I split feedback up, or I try to in my mind, and with the places that I'd solicit it from. All right, who do I know who knows what they're talking to? Can I get Rafael to watch this thing and then tell me what I can do better? Versus, okay, person A in row 3, what do you think about this thing that I just did? Those are two different places where feedback can come, and I think both are valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it.
I was just at an event, and there was a speaker who was literally, everybody was leaning in like this, right? Like Brigitta loves to do. But we all were, right? But this person did not read the room, and he was doing great. What he did is he kept asking the audience over and over, "Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand?" But meanwhile, everybody's leaning in because the words he was using were great, but he did not believe in himself, even though he was giving a great presentation. And I said to myself, he's not present. This is probably a speech that he practiced so much that he expects people to jump up and down and do all these kind of actions, but people were leaning in because it was valuable information. But yet he was not reading the room properly. What are your thoughts on reading the room? Because, yeah, you don't want the person on 3B thinking, what's he thinking? You want to say that this is the message I came to deliver because I believe in what I'm producing, what I'm giving. Because if you go there and it's just a rehearsed speech that you've done 1,000 times and you just don't care, or you think that people are going to like salivate over it, what are your thoughts? Anybody?
Well, if we're talking to a smaller group and we can actually see the people, and it's more of a personal thing, then it's sometimes easier to read a room. It can be tough when you've got 5 or 10,000 people, and basically you're just looking at a sea of black, which often happens. What I like to do is think more about what I want to do for my audience than what they think of me. And if my last and my prevailing thought is, how do I think that I can serve them? That is probably and enjoyed in the process, because if you're not enjoying it, then it's over. If so, those are two of the things, and the concepts or the mindsets that can help us when it's hard to read the room. And I mean, there's just this blackness that they're there, but you can't see them. And particularly if you're speaking in Asia, then the audiences can be quite respectful, and you don't actually hear much. So those are two things that I think we can do that will help us through any presentation.
Yeah, one of the things that came to mind when I heard you talking about that, Rafael, was sometimes people will use phrases like that as filler phrases. They serve the same purpose as or so or that's the same kind of thing. There's just a desire to fill some space with something, and they fill it with that. That's one thought. Another is that sometimes people, especially when we know the stuff so well, and it comes so naturally to us because we've read it, we've heard it, we've spoken it, however many times we have, we forget that sometimes people need a second to process the information that we're putting out. And we say something, and there's quiet. There's not the response that we think we should get as quickly as we think we should get it. And so we need to fill that time. Whereas what's really happening is the audience is just saying, let me just run that back in my head for a minute and see what's going on, and just allowing that to happen. So I think that that's another possibility for those times when people feel that need to maybe fill what they perceive as a gap that needs to be filled.
I'm curious to find like some common ground between Andrew and Dr. Brian, being in two different sides of the world, coming from two different backgrounds. I'm pretty certain, although I don't know exactly your background, working probably in two different areas of expertise. I think what we all kind of have in common, especially in the time that we live in right now, is that change, that, you know, how do we own how do we take ownership of the change that we are in? May it be in our environment, may it be within our business, may it be within our personal life, our business life, wherever. I think what we all have in common is that we're constantly working through change. And may you be, you know, delivering your message from stage or off stage, reading the room when it comes to change, I think is important, to make Andrew's point, depending on the size of the environment. But how do you, I'm really curious, as these expectations of the room and the environment and the people that we work with, how do you navigate change? Like, what are the points that you hit to teach people this is how you navigate change?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but I mean, related to, I heard two different things in there. I think one is, when I'm in a speaking situation, I have expectations about how it's going to go and what the audience size is going to be and what the place is going to look like and what resources I have available. And sometimes that happens. Other times it doesn't. And different things take place, and we have to step up and just deliver regardless of what those last minute changes are. We have to adapt at the last minute when we talk. And that's the norm. That's not the exception. I don't know, you know, for anybody out there who's new to speaking, if you think that every single time you walk on stage, the lights are going to work, the mic's going to work, the slides are going to work, all the things are going to work, you're wrong. It's not going to be that way. That all the seats are going to be filled, everybody's going to show up on time, the thing's going to start on time, all the things. It's not going to work that way. So just being aware that change is the norm rather than the exception in that environment. You know, another way that to take what you were talking about around change is just a larger philosophical view of just change is that this is where I really love the Eastern philosophy, the Eastern approach of impermanence, the idea that nothing is permanent, nothing stays the same. Change is constant in everything all the time. And if we can just recognize that and embrace it, not just from a speaking standpoint, but on a larger level throughout life, then when those unexpected things come up, they're way more easily adapted to than if we're so rigidly grasping onto what we think things should be, how they ought to be.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about our expectations and in life in general. If we have expectations in our relationships that these people should like me or these people should respond to me in a certain way, and then we transfer that situation into being in front of an audience. I think that the mindset that a lot of things that we do don't work as well as we hope they will. And that is true for everything we do in life. We make a video and hope it's going to go viral, or we write a manuscript and we send it to a publisher hoping they're going to like it, or we go on a first date and we're hoping maybe this is going to be the one. Most of the things that we do in life don't work quite as well as we hope they will. But if we maintain our work rate and we keep on doing our best, then one day, usually when we least expect it, something will happen that is even more wonderful than we ever imagined. But it comes down to enjoying the process regardless of what's going on, and trying to stay in the moment. I can remember there was a time when I was so often focused on getting to the end of my presentations and hoping that I would be happy with it rather than actually being there for each sentence that I delivered and in each moment of the presentation. And then I realized that I was actually having my mind ahead of where I was, and I wasn't doing my best job because I was visualizing being finished, and I wasn't serving the audience, and I wasn't doing a good job, even though I'd prepared thoroughly. And coming back to in saying I want to enjoy each moment of this, the audience feels that.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, the irony of that is that by focusing so much on being finished, the thing feels like it takes forever. Whereas if you just stay present in the moment, talking, delivering the message, it's over before you know it. And
Yes.
and that's the irony of that situation. Yeah, that is very similar to the way that I talk about pressure. When I talk about pressure, I talk about pressure in terms of where it comes from, which is a focus on consequences, which are in the future. So when we think about, well, if this goes horribly, then fill in the blank, whatever bad thing's going to happen if it goes horribly. Or, you know what, if it goes great, here's the big, wonderful thing that's going to happen. Either way, we experience pressure, but it's because our mind is in the future. Whereas if we can simply be present in what we're talking about in that moment, focused only on task relevant things that will allow us to create conditions for success, that's where pressure cannot live. Pressure exists only in the future. So that present moment focus not only keeps us attuned to and connected with the audience, but it eliminates any of those feelings of I have to do well at this, or I can't screw this up, that can sometimes creep in.
Yeah, beautifully said, and I think your point translates beautifully into, for example, the athletic arena for sports people. You look at the great champions; they enjoy the process, and they're not even saying to themselves, "Don't screw this up," because it doesn't even enter their head. I remember once John McEnroe, he said that so many of his fellow tennis players could actually recite every part of a match that they just finished. And he said, I can't remember any of it. He said, I was just there playing the game and I walked off and it's all gone. And I mean, the point that you make about pressure and being in the moment is a beautiful and applies to almost everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. The athletic arena, and the speaking arena. I mean, it is truly the same thing. If we, and this is something, I don't know, I coached my daughter's soccer team for a long time, and this is something that I had to coach the parents too a little bit, because they wanted to. If we were just in a regular season game, it was whatever, they'd cheer for their kid. And, oh, let's do great. Let's get out there. Let's do our best. Let's whatever. But then we get in a tournament. And let's say we even made it to the finals of the tournament. Now the parents are coming up to the kids. All right, this is huge. This is a big game. Got to get ready. Got to bring all your stuff. Got to be like, they would turn it into a whole different experience. It's not different. It's still a soccer game. The kid still needs to do all the same stuff in order to do well in that moment. It hasn't changed. Whether you want them to do well on the practice field or, at the World Cup, it doesn't matter. The behaviors are the same. The things that are necessary for us to be at our best are the same. So fixating on the bigness of the thing or the arena that we're in or the consequences associated with success or failure, none of that's going to be helpful for what it is that we need to do in order to create conditions for success. And I say that intentionally because we can't guarantee success, but we absolutely can, through our attention being in the present moment, focused on task relevant things, the things that are necessary for success to occur, we can maximize the likelihood of that success happening.
Yeah, so we give ourselves best chance.
Absolutely.
I love that. You sound like a general, right? So, by the way, thank you for your service, Dr. Brian.
Oh,
because
I wasn't in
it's
the military. I just worked for those guys.
no, but you still help. Listen, if you help them, you served, right? Just remember that, because the mindset is everything, right? The words you use, the way you impacted their lives, made them make the decisions that kept our country safe. And I think anybody who works in the military or for the military is, to me, a hero. So thank you for your service, right?
Mm.
Whether you
I
see
see.
it that way
I
or
just
not.
look at it differently. It was a job for me, and it's a job for them. That's something that they all picked. That was the
Mhm.
thing that they chose to do, and it's interesting too, because very little of the military or the tip of the spear type of people who we think of, the gun carrying front line kinds of people, most of them aren't. And so that's why I gravitated toward the resilience part of that program, because there's so much of the military that's just they're not combat related. They're support people, but they have their problems too, and they've got their own issues as well. And that's the case in corporations. That's the case in education. That's the case across the board. We all struggle with different things, personal, professional, and the more resources we can have to handle those situations effectively, the better. So to me, I don't distinguish with military, non-military. We're all people, we're all humans, we're all on this planet. And I want to do whatever I can to, again, just provide people with something they can grasp onto when those moments where it just seems like things are too much. There's just no way out. And too many of us are in those places.
That's where resilience sets in, right? In order to be able to deal with whatever situations we're in. To me, resilience is about doing it even when it's tough, right? To have that feeling of, I have to do this so that I can accomplish certain things. Same thing for people who are either going to get on a stage or not. Do they practice before they go on a stage? Do they look at the venue first? Do they talk to the audience before getting on stage? Because I think that builds you, according to the message. Who am I delivering this speech to? So that I can connect better, and maybe they see me not as a speaker, but as a friend, maybe.
Well, I'll tell you, the way that I think about resilience, and for speakers, I think that this is incredibly helpful, is I think about it. There's a researcher named Ann Maston, and essentially what her research has shown with regard to resilience is that resilience is a math equation. It's the more resources we have available to us, the better able we are to deal with challenges when they occur. And when I say resources, there are many: physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, financial. There are so many. But the more we have available and the better we are at deploying them, the better we are in those situations where challenges occur. So in a speaking situation, I would encourage people, in order to maximize resilience, think in terms of the resources. Physically, did you stretch? Did you sleep? Have you eaten? Mentally, where's your mind? Where's your focus? Where's your attention? And where does it need to be in order for you to be at your best? Emotionally, what do you want to feel? Certainly not fear. Let's transition that to excitement. Let's interpret those physiological changes that are normal and natural as excitement, joy, leaning in. Social, when am I going to cut off the conversations with my spouse or with my kids and turn my attention to the bubble to speak? So all of these are resources, and even resources in terms of preparing for the speech. Who do I know that I can practice in front of, that I can get that useful feedback from that we were talking about earlier? The more resources we have and the better able we are to leverage them, the better off we're going to be when those challenges arise.
Yeah, nice. Well said.
Can I go back to the being in the present moment? Because I love that conversation that you two had. Give us like a step-by-step to get present. When you teach someone to be present, what are the steps that they go through? Because I think that is such an important skill to have, to get back into the present. Because I think I can speak definitely for Rafael and I, but for most people, that we we go. If you're driven, you're in the future. You're like, let's go. I have this outcome. This is what we're going for. These are the steps that I need to take. Let's go. Grit is a big, big part of that. So how do you, like, let's take a deep breath, come back. How do you get present?
I think for me, it's just constantly reminding myself, because I take your point in that it's so easy to get mixed up with what is the goal here? This is where I want to get to. And so for me, it's just keeping on bringing myself back, just saying, hang on, just enjoy this moment, deliver this sentence, hear what the audience is saying or how they're responding, and just more than anything, it's just this is the only moment you. This is what I'm telling myself. This is the only moment you have. Enjoy it. There is nothing else. The future is just an idea in my mind, and as such, it doesn't really exist anyway. So this is all that I have. And it's, for me, it's as simple as that. And I talk about it because I'm not very good at it.
Yeah,
Thank you for your honesty.
The present thing is interesting. I mean, anybody who's ever meditated will tell you that it's very hard to stay present even for 5 seconds. I mean, your mind goes somewhere else, and so it is a constant bringing back to the present moment. And meditation is certainly a great way of practicing that, but it all begins with awareness. If we as soon as we become aware that we aren't present, then we're present. We're back in that moment, and we can continue doing that. I really think about it in 3 different ways, and it depends on what kind of person I'm talking to and in what phase. If I'm speaking to a cerebral person, a logical thinking, somebody who likes arguments, then I present it like this. Okay, so you want this outcome? Great. What do you need to do in order to get that outcome? Well, I need to do these things here. Yeah, you do. So let's put our attention on those. What right now can you control and do that will create the conditions for that success that you say you want? So it's just reminding people that by focusing on winning, we're not going to win. In order to win, certain things need to happen. In order for success to occur, we have to do this. And I usually talk about it in terms of soccer or football, depending on what part of the world you're in that, if we want to win the game, great. That's a wonderful thing to want. That's success. That's terrific. Let's push toward it. But how are we going to get there? Well, you have to dribble well. You have to pass well. You have to shoot well. You have to play good defense. These are all things that right now in this moment, I can put my attention on. And so the way that I structure that is to just tell people, all right, what's important now? Right now, what is the most important thing? Where does your attention need to go? And that's the pathway that I try to focus on, just in terms of staying present and getting present. I also, you talked about the John McEnroe thing. I think about presence as the magical, and I'll explain why in a second, but magical mixture of variables all happening to land on the right thing. And by that, I mean your physical state, your mental state, your emotional state, the arousal levels, energy levels, inside your body, all the stuff is just at that right place where you can be fully immersed in the moment. And there is a place for that. There's a way to be there, to recognize what is the energy activation level that's right for me in this moment. If I'm going to give a talk, where does my energy activation level need to be? Because I know if it's too low, my brain's not going to function right, and I'm not going to be as aware. If it's too high, my attention's going to be narrow. I'm going to miss some stuff, and I may rush through things and not be as clear as I need to be. So how do I get my energy activation level right where it needs to be in order for me to be present and engaged? So I really ask people to tune into their bodies and their energy levels and where that focus needs to be. Should it be on the audience? Should it be on the slide? Should it be on your heart rate? I don't know, but there's a right place for your attention and there's a right energy activation level, and tuning into those is a great way to stay present. And lastly, depending on where you are, if not in the middle of the speech, I wouldn't suggest this, but if before the speech you're freaking out, then a way to deal with that is what's called grounding. So what are 4 things that you see? What are 3 things that you hear? What are 2 things that you feel? If you can tune into those, that ties you to the present moment in a way that nothing else does. So that's a great, just kind of a triage real quick way to at least just hit the reset button.
I got to say that what some of you may not know is that Brian truly understands being present. And I'm going to tell you why he truly understands it, probably because his life depends on it. He's a stuntman as well. And if he is not present, there could be some danger that he can be facing. So when you're in a situation like that, Dr. Brian, when you have to perform at a high level like that, and you've probably done some crazy and incredible stunts, and you've done it for so many people, and you've helped people understand awareness, is there an energy that you feel in your body that is different than if you just got on a stage?
No, it's exactly the same. I mean, truly, this is what I'm saying. That energy activation level is there whether I need to have a conversation with my spouse, or if I'm teaching a class, or if I'm giving a presentation in front of 1,000 people, or if I'm getting ready to get hit by a car. There's a right amount of energy activation for any of those things. So there's a degree difference. There's a level of pumped upness that's different when I want to get hit by a car versus doing a fight scene versus having a conversation with my spouse. But at the end of the day, the phenomenon itself of this energy activation level being appropriate to the performance that I'm engaging in, that doesn't change.
Thank you for that.
That's beautiful. I've found it very different when I'm about to be hit by a car.
Yeah, most do. Most do.
When we live in the world where we really have to negotiate with ourselves as to what our actions are going to be, what's the one thing that we can rely on a regular basis, based on our performance, based on the resilience that you both can take away from that, and even you, Brigitta? And then there were crickets.
I mean, one of the things is simply preparation. That never taking any presentation for granted, and I think in the times that I've thought, okay, well, I've got this, I've done it before, and maybe I didn't do my research, or I didn't learn my material, or that's when I'm more likely to fall on my face. And so I never take any presentation for granted. I always do the same kind of preparation, and so if you figure there's a lot of confidence that comes from figuring I did what was necessary to be here, and now I just go out and enjoy the process, do my best. If ever I feel that I haven't done preparation, then that's where I suffer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I fully 100% agree with that. And I'll take it to the other extreme where I think it's possible to prepare too much. I think that there's a point of diminishing returns where we can get ourselves wrapped around, again, trying to achieve that perfection that we were talking about earlier. And it can get in the way of us just simply being and being in the moment. We're so we can try to prepare and try to anticipate and try to expect and try to get all the contingencies in order. We got it all planned out, and it's all there. And then the first thing that comes along that doesn't meet those expectations can derail us, because we've prepared so much, and this is how it's going to go. So the preparation, I think, is incredibly valuable. There's a quote by I think it's Dwight Eisenhower, who was a general in the World War II and an American president, and it was something to the effect that planning is essential, but plans are useless in war, or something like that. And the idea is just the planning process itself is incredibly valuable, because it allows us to think through the various possibilities and different ways of doing things, and really get straight on a vision of how to get from where we are to where we're going to go. And like we mentioned before, change is inevitable. So something's going to happen to throw that off. And we need to be flexible enough to adapt in those situations. You know, it's funny, this is another thing too, for anybody out there who's a little bit worried about speaking, who that's not your natural thing, getting in front of audiences. I'll tell you, I remember the very first time I ever was asked to get in front of people and do anything. It was in the 5th grade. It was an oral report on sharks. And I tried to stay home from school because I was terrified. I wanted nothing to do with it at all. And that was the case up until high school, when I ended up taking a drama class, and I was terrified about the stuff I had to do in there too. And then just little things throughout. But one of the very first things that I did as an adult with public speaking, I love stand-up comedy. So I decided I was going to do that. And when I did stand-up for the first time, I memorized literally every single word and pattern of speech and inflection and timing. All of it was identical. If you could listen to me on stage, you could listen to me in my little voice recorder that I was practicing it all in, and it sounded identical, because I wasn't comfortable being on stage and being flexible. I needed that rigidity of that structure that I could latch onto. And it was fine. It served me, but I think it limited me in some ways too. Now I do that preparation that Andrew was talking about. I have in my mind what I want to say, the order I want to say it, but I'm also open to, okay, well, if something happens and somebody says something, or I ask a question and I get an answer that I didn't expect, well, all right, well, let's explore that for a little bit. I'm okay doing that now, because I'm not as nervous and scared of standing in front of people. I mean, I truly was terrified. I've been lit on fire. I've been hit by a car. I've been lit on fire and hit by a car at the exact same time. Whoa. And I've never been as scared as I've been standing on stage trying to tell jokes to people. It was phenomenal. Crazy experience.
Which one? Being on fire? Or
they were all great experiences, but the terrifying one was was being on stage with the jokes. And it's so weird. I knew nobody's going to throw a hammer at me or anything. I knew nobody was going to come beat me up if I didn't tell a funny joke. There was no danger. There was no risk. But for whatever reason, I was still more scared of that than any of the physical risks that I've taken over the 30 years that I've been doing stunts.
The fear of rejection is a real fear.
Oh, yeah.
You know, showing up with authenticity is definitely one for me. And I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm pretty sure all of you that have ever been on the stage feel the exact same way, because that's not who we're meant to be. We are not everyone's cup of tea. But when we lean into our authenticity and bring great content in a great environment that we get to create, we're pretty much set and staying flexible within that. So yeah, I agree with everything that was said today. And I say content is queen, but context is king. And I get to set that context.
Yeah. It's very interesting that people fear speaking on the stage, but they'll have conversations with people, with their friends, with their family, with their partner. The minute the microphone hits their hand, it depends on the venue, right? If it's one around your ear or on your lapel, But the minute people hold the microphone, it's like poof, they shut down. They get fear sets in. They rather be lit on fire, Dr. Brian. They
Yeah.
rather be hit by a car. But meanwhile, if they reflect back and go deeper into who they are and what their message truly should be, there is no fear. They should be overjoyed with having that microphone because I have something of value to share. And I believe for anybody who does speak on stage or is looking to speak on stage, they have to find their why they're even getting on that stage. What's my purpose when I get up there? What am I delivering? If I'm not attached to the content, then yes, I can understand somebody being afraid. But to get on a stage and feel powered because of the message, that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think that if we can get out of the ego part and really turn attention instead of being inward and assessing, okay, so what do I need to do? What is right for me? What's good for me? And turn our attention instead outward, like you said, to the audience. What are we giving to them? What are we providing? And you know, at the end of the day, if you want to think about it this way, this might be helpful too. Is they don't know anything about what you're going to say right now. And if you talk for an hour and they still don't know anything at the end of it, well, they're no worse off. I mean, they've lost an hour of their lives, but they're not worse off than they were when they came in. But you have the opportunity to give something during that hour. And maybe even if they just walk away with, and most people do, just walk away with one thing, maybe two things from whatever talk. But if they do, that's something. But if our attention is turned outward, away from ourselves, not about how we relate or how people are thinking about us or any kind of internal assessment, just an external one. What am I giving to these people? Did they get what I'm trying to give? And if they didn't, all right, well, again, they're no worse off. If they did, fantastic. Then I've given something. There's no downside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'd like to touch on something. I mean, this idea of why we're so fearful of delivering a speech. Part of the issue is that it's very unnatural to have a one-sided conversation. It's like if you were to go into, assuming you work for someone and you go into your boss and you spend a half an hour explaining why you deserve a pay rise and they don't speak at all and they just look at you. That would also be a little scary because it's not a situation that we're used to. And for those of us who are either beginning to be regular speakers or have been doing it for a long time, the more that we can see it as a conversation that we're having, the more that we can give our audience an opportunity to put their hands up or nod their head. You know, when I might be talking about happiness or something, and I'll say, early on, we need to talk about happiness because it's sometimes hard, isn't it? Who's ever been short of money maybe once, and there's smiles, and suddenly I feel that I'm having no one's saying anything, but I'm feeling that it's coming back to being a conversation. Then I say, who's had a relationship that you'd rather forget? And then there's more smiles, more hands. Who's in one now? And people feel that they're having a conversation. I'm feeling I'm having a conversation with them. Anything that we can do, and this is really, you know, a technique and a mindset that we take it away from being a one-way conversation. We suddenly feel this is more normal, and we relax into it.
Absolutely. I love that. I love asking questions of an audience because it helps them engage with the content that I'm providing. What a great conversation we've had today so far. Thank you, everybody. It has come to that time where we have to say adios, amigos. But before we do that, I'm going to give everybody 30, 45 seconds to tell us about how somebody can reach you and what they can expect when they do. Andrew, we have your website going across the bottom. Would you mind 30 to 45 seconds, my friend?
Sure. So you can, I have a little newsletter that's brief with one of my cartoons that I send out every 2 weeks, maybe 100 words. A little bit of joy to come into your inbox. And if you get too happy, you can unsubscribe at any time. My books are all on Amazon. Being Happy, Bouncing Back, Follow Your Heart.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, my friend. And yeah, I got to tell you, if you do this one, oh my gosh. By the way, all the illustrations are by this young man right there. So every book and the illustrations, not only are they funny, but they make you think. So do me a favor, follow Andrew. What a great example of bouncing back. Thank you for sharing that with us in the world.
My pleasure.
Dr. Brian, you're up, my friend.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you'd come check out the website, brianhiteglobal.com. I work with pretty much 5 different populations: educators, corporate, first responders, athletes and athletic coaches, and performing artists. Those are the 5 populations, and really under the umbrella of high stakes performance, high stakes environments, high stakes situations. I don't believe in pressure situations. I don't believe in high stress situations. I believe that every situation is just a situation, and we determine ourselves the way that we perceive and understand that situation. We're the ones who determine whether we experience stress or pressure. And at no point, stress and pressure are good for performance. They are always bad. And like we've talked about during this, we need to stay present. So that's what I work with people on is pressure. What is it? How do we avoid it? Stress. What is it? How do we avoid it? Burnout. Same thing. And then there's a 4-phase approach to performance that works really well in speaking settings for sure, but also performing arts and athletics, etc. So come check out the website. I too have a newsletter. You can sign up for it. You'll get it once a month. It has some useful information in it. And I have a book. You can check that out on Amazon. It's called Begin Again, Utilize the Wisdom of Eastern and Western Ideologies to Achieve Your Full Potential.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. And I understand that, Brigitta, you come bearing gifts, my dear.
I come bearing gifts because it's all about listening. And it has been such a pleasure listening to Andrew and Brian and Rafael today. There's so many great nuggets when we truly can perk not just our ears, but our eyes and our feelings and our energy. We listen with all of that. And I want to invite you to get the checklist, the listening checklist, to check off what have I not been listening for, and check out on the listening checklist, the TED Talk on listening. So thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Andrew and Brian, for being here. What a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Joy.
Absolutely. By the way, I'm Sifu Rafael, and for me, you can easily reach me. It's my name.com, sifurafael.com, right? Can't get simpler than that. Here's the thing that I do every day. I pray to God and I ask him to, I thank him for the gifts he's given me, and so I can share those gifts with my brothers and sisters. And what he's called me to do recently is everybody wants to know how I stay energized, fit. I'm always on the go, doing so many different things. And so now I'm sharing it with the world, not only my private clients, but I'm going to share it more openly. And I created a system which is called Sifu's Mind Body Method. And it takes anybody who is a busy professional, entrepreneur, CEO, whoever it is, a mom, a dad, and I teach them how to recapture their lives, to reset their mind and their body and their spirit. It's called Sifu's Mind Body Method. If you want to know more about it, it's launching April 21st. It's a 90-day reset. It's time to reclaim your life because it's your life and you need to be in it. Don't participate from a bedside because you got to take care of your health to create the wealth. Thank you, everybody. What an amazing show. Do me a favor, everybody. Share the show. Tell everybody about it. Click on our YouTube. Take a look. And guess what? share it, and follow these amazing people. Gosh, what great insights we had today. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Do me a favor, stay out for a minute, everybody. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you real soon. Adios, amigos.
Ciao.
This is Speaking Prowess,